Thank you. Keystone is so grateful for our partnership with Roseville Lutheran and the community here. We are, our longtime partnership is really helping during 2020 and now into 2021 as we are trying to support so many more people during this pandemic. Your support has helped so many people over the years stabilize their lives. And we want to also thank you for all the time that you've put in, both with helping hands and also with donations and also with those wonderful food donations that you do for Keystone. So thank you. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about Keystone for those of you that don't know us well, tell you a little bit about who we are, and then what have we been doing during the pandemic and how you can help in the future. So Keystone is the mission of Keystone is to strengthen the capacity of individuals and families to improve their quality of life. We've been serving people in this community for over 80 years. This is a map of our service area. We have food shelf locations on Rice Street, on University Avenue. We operate the Marion Park Community Center and the West 7th Community Center. And then we have youth sites on Selby Avenue, our bike shop, and our Best Buy Teens Tech Center, and then also a youth location up at McDonough Homes. And then we have our mobile food shelf that goes throughout our service area, supporting people with food and crisis support. We're doing all we can this year to support everyone with youth services, senior services, and food shelf and crisis services. Throughout the year, we typically serve about 35,000 people. And we do that, as I said, in our youth services, which is where we help young people develop the skills and the talent and just develop that sense of self that they need to be successful adults. We also operate, as all of you might know, as our food shelf and our crisis support programs. And that's where we serve the most people. It's what we call our highest volume program. And in 2020, it's looking like, we don't have our final numbers yet, but it's looking like we're going to have served over 30,000 people in this program alone. In 2019, we served 27,000, so quite a hike. Then we also serve seniors. It's one of the ways that we work with our community, and some of our seniors we've worked with for over 30 years. They came to us as a retiree, wanting to help support their community and volunteer. And then as they transition through the various things that go on as you grow older, they often become participants in some of our programs and then reach out when they need help with caregiving or case management support or moving to a new living situation. So we are working with seniors for many, many years. And during a typical year, we'll work with 3,000 seniors in our community. Volunteers is the key to our operations. Without the 2,500 volunteers that help us every year, we simply could not do our work. One of the things I often tell people is that in our basic needs program, as I said earlier, we serve typically 27,000 to 28,000 people a year. We do that with 8 full-time staff and thousands of volunteers that really help us get that work done. So we clearly couldn't serve that many people with just 8 staff, and it's the volunteers that really are the heart and soul of our programs in both our youth programs, our senior programs, and in our food shelves. We often get asked, who supports Keystone? How do you support the work that you do in the community? We're about a $5 million organization, and we get support from a variety of sources, one of which is our wonderful faith communities like Roseville Lutheran. We also have fee for service. That's like our Meals on Wheels program. People can pay to get Meals on Wheels in their home. Those that can't afford it, we are able to subsidize that. We operate a bike shop on Selby Avenue in St. Paul, so we have bike sales. We get contributions from individuals, businesses, and we get philanthropic support from foundations, corporate foundations, United Way, Greater Twin Cities United Way. And then we also have revenue from government. So we have contracts with the state of Minnesota and with Ramsey and Hennepin County to provide case management services for seniors that are low income. So 2020, as you all know, 2020 was quite the year, and it looks like 2021 is shaping up to be quite a year as well. A year ago, we were all set to unleash our strategic plan. Our board had approved it in December of 2019, and we were all set to move into our strategic plan and really start serving the community in the ways that they told us they needed us to back when we asked them in 2019. Well, we're really glad we had that strategic plan, because in 2020, as soon as that pandemic hit, we knew what the priorities were for our community, because our community told us that. And so we went out and we started doing things differently. And these are just a few pictures from some of the things that we did in 2020 and will continue to do in 2021. We modified services to meet needs. We changed all our food shelves on the fly. As soon as we knew we had to keep people socially distanced, as soon as we knew that we really needed to follow the guidelines set forth by the Minnesota Department of Health in terms of masking, in terms of keeping distance, in terms of all those things that we know we need to do to stay safe, we had to change how we did everything in our food shelves. We typically have a client choice model in our food shelves where clients come and shop like they're in a small market. We weren't able to do that anymore because we needed to keep everybody safe, the volunteers, the staff, and the participants. And so we've moved to a pre-packed model where we're able to pack grocery bags full of food. It's not our preferred model, but it helps us serve as many people as we can. And then as a participant comes into the site, they quickly do a quick check-in and a registration if they're new to Keystone. And then they're able to get that pre-packed bag of lots of shelf-stable foods, but then they're also able to choose what kind of meats they want, what kind of dairy products they want, and some of the other items that we might have available that week at the food shelf. So there is still some choice left, just not the amount of choice that we had before. And our participants have helped us so much in learning what we should and shouldn't put in our bags, particularly for our participants who are precariously housed or are homeless. They have told us we need items that we can just unscrew, that we don't need any kind of cooking facilities for, and so they helped us design a bag that we are able to use with them and also with a lot of our older adults that really need single-serve items and items that can really help them use them up quickly, and they don't have a gallon of milk that's going sour in their refrigerator or in their car. We also increased support via our food mobile. Back in 2019, we had our gala, and at our gala we raised the dollars to support buying a new food mobile. We had one that we raised the money for back in 2015, and that one was running out of gas, literally, and we needed another one that was slightly larger, but also offered us the opportunity to do refrigeration and freezer space on it. So we bought a new one with contributions we got from our community. We renovated it, and it has hit the road, and we couldn't have had better timing because we were able to have 2 of our food mobiles out on the road and able to bring more food to more people out in the community where they were living. So we didn't need them to get on public transit or to borrow a car to come to one of our food shelves. We went to them. So we made the same kind of changes. Instead of going on the food mobile to actually pick out their food, we again bagged it with the help of volunteers, and we were able to provide that food on the sidewalk many times or in a parking lot, and being able to bring that food out to the community where they are able to get it as easily as possible. We also launched a new delivery service, and this was something that was part of our strategic plan, and we were planning to launch that if we had gotten the grant support we were seeking in 2021 or 2022. Instead, we started it in April of 2020. Metro Mobility was our first partner. The Metro Mobility drivers were looking for things to do because they weren't driving people to appointments because everybody was in the stay-at-home order. And so they were able to pick up pre-packaged food shelf packages and deliver them to seniors, people in the community who have health conditions, people with disabilities that really could not come to one of our food mobile sites or to our food shelf. And Metro Mobility was a great partner as we started that program. And now we've transitioned it. We've moved it over to our Merriam Park site because we don't have enough room at our 2 food shelves to do it at the food shelf. So we're doing it out of our Merriam Park site where we have a commercial kitchen, and we are now using volunteers. And by the end of this month, the end of February, we're anticipating that we will be delivering 150 packages a month to seniors and people with disabilities. So with the help of our community, we were able to hire a person to help us organize this program and really be that great conduit with the volunteers as they go out into the community and deliver these packages. It's very similar to our Meals on Wheels model that we have been running since the early 70s, using volunteers to get those food items out into the community, but also do that little check and that little check-in. Again, we're keeping everything socially distanced, so volunteers are staying distance from the people they're bringing the food to, but they're able at least to wave, and we're able to make that connection over the phone with our new food delivery coordinator. We also expanded to doing events. Some of you know that we did an event at the very end of November with the help and support of Faith Communities volunteering at it. We served 1,000 households at the end of November with a Thanksgiving meal that they were able to drive through safely, pop open their trunk, and then we put the fixings for a Thanksgiving meal into their trunk. And we served 1,000 people that day in November. That's the most we've ever served at one of our drive-through events, and we did 21 of them in 2020. And we did those because we knew that our community needed food. And we also knew that there were many, many new people in our community that had never thought about using a food shelf before, had never anticipated that they would be unemployed or that they'd be laid off for a long period of time. And so those drive-through distributions were a great way for us to introduce getting food support to people in our community that never thought they'd need it. So people drive up to the event, either like we did in Roseville at the Public Works Department, or we did at Allianz Field or at other locations. Roseville High School was another place we did it. So people drive up, as I said, they pop open their trunk, volunteers put the items in their trunk. The food comes from the COVID Food Assistance Program, which is a program started by USDA to purchase food that farmers had already grown in anticipation that restaurants and cafeterias and places like that would be using it. But when they all shut down, there was no place for that food to go. So USDA worked with farmers to get that food out to the community through the COVID Food Assistance Program. And those are the packages that we are getting out to the community, and that we are making sure that is being available to anybody that needs it. We did, as I said, 21 of those events in 2020, and we anticipate that we will do more in 2021. We have one scheduled for February 25th at the State Fairgrounds, and another one on March 6th at the Roseville Public Works Department again. And we have just found, as I said earlier, this is a great way to have people that have never thought about accessing food come and access food. They can do it fairly anonymously. And then many of them come and pick up a package for their senior neighbor. They do sign up, so they're able to sign up, and we know how many cars we're going to get. And it's given us also a great way through email to connect with our participants that are coming to those drive-through events and learn from them, what can we do better, what should we be doing differently, and then what is it exactly that they're looking for. And many of them, as I said, have told us that this is the first time that they've accessed food resources, and they're just so grateful for this support. So we want to make sure we can continue doing that in 2021. One of the other things that Keystone has done quite a bit of is crisis support. We have always helped people with rent assistance, getting new tires for a car, maybe getting household items if they're moving into a new apartment, a new bed or something like that. And we've continued to do that work in 2020, and we'll continue to do it in 2021. We work with our many partners. The Roseville Angel Fund is certainly a great fund that we use to get this support out to the community, with the St. Paul Foundation Community Sharing Fund. And then there's various other funds that are out there that we work together with them to make sure that we're getting seniors, families, anyone in the community that needs that assistance, that they can get that. We want to make sure that people stay housed. The housing crisis that was in place prior to the pandemic has only gotten worse. And we know that once someone moves out of affordable housing, it's very hard for them to find new housing. So we do everything we can through the Crisis Fund and through the support of things like the Angel Fund and other funds in the community to make sure that people stay housed in safe housing, because it's so important that people have housing and of course that they have food. The other thing I wanted to talk with you about is a little bit about some of the what we know about what's happening in the community as a result of the pandemic. So I found some statistics about what's been happening nationwide about job losses and how they're impacting low-income people and particularly people of color in a very different way than they're affecting other people in our community. The Census Bureau has been doing a household pulse survey, which they launched in April 2020, to just really get a sense of what was happening. And the most recent one was in January, and that's where these numbers are from. But I just wanted to share a little bit about what's happening community-wide, and this is being reflected in the state of Minnesota as well. So one of the things that we do know is that the job loss with the pandemic has really come in the low-wage industries. And that's in the restaurant businesses, entertainment businesses, hotels, all those kinds of things, where they're not the highest paying jobs. And for many of our families, there's often that second job that has helped them make ends meet. And that's where the job losses have been the highest, as you can see. The low-wage jobs hire almost twice as much as all industries combined. Sufficient food. In the United States, 1 out of 6 adults with children said that they lacked sufficient food for 7 days in the most recent survey. That's a number that we have never seen since probably the Great Depression. And it's something that we are paying close attention to. And it's why the partnership we have with Roseville Lutheran is so important, because we're able to provide that food. And we know that the needs are growing as this pandemic continues on. Food insecurity in the BIPOC community is even greater than everyone else. As you can see from this slide, Black and Latino families are being affected the most. So once again, it's where we're targeting our resources, and this data that we're collecting through the Census Bureau is really helping us make sure that we have the food items that our Black and Latino families and all families need in order to support their families with food. Another area that families are struggling with is rent. People that live with children are twice as likely to not be caught up on rent. As we all know, we love having children, but they do cost money. And we've had more kids home with distance learning, and so families have really been struggling to stay up and have enough money to pay their rent as well as all their other bills, especially if they have any kind of unemployment in their family. In general, more than 1 in 3 adults in a typical household, 1 in 3 adults in a household in the United States has had trouble just paying their typical household expenses. And in the state of Minnesota, we're finding that 9% of Minnesotans reported that they didn't have enough food to eat in the last 7 days, and 15% reported that they're not caught up on rent. Those are pretty significant numbers, and we don't expect those numbers to budge much because, again, the biggest losses have been in those low-wage jobs, and those really impact our low-income community the most. So, as we said, this is the work that we're trying to do to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our low-income families and individuals and seniors in our community, and where we're really targeting our efforts. And with your help, we'll be able to continue expanding programs, continue the programs we started in 2020 to bring them into 2021, and just make sure that we're there for our community. I say it often that I'm always telling people, just have them call Keystone, because generally we can figure out a way to help them. And if we can't help them, we can find someone who can help them. And when I say that, I know it's my job and the job of all of us in our community to make sure that we are available when people need help. So when we're telling everyone to turn to Keystone, we have to be prepared and ready for them when they come to our door. Because the first time that someone asks for help is often their most vulnerable point. And we want to make sure that we are there with the food, the resources, and that welcoming environment so that they feel that they can get the help that they need. And then hopefully tell other people in the community that it worked for them and come and get this resource. So we are doing a lot of planning at the same time that we are doing a lot of the work in our community. And as I said, we finished our 2019 plan, and one of the things that became really clear to us prior to the pandemic and certainly in the middle of the pandemic was that we really needed to support more people quickly in our community. So we launched the Acceleration Fund. We launched that in October of 2020 because we knew we needed resources quickly to be able to start new programs or to get resources out to our community as fast as possible. And so we asked our community, can you help us? Can you help us raise the additional money that we need outside of our regular operating dollars that we need so that we can get things started? And our community has really responded to that call for help. We've raised over $1 million since October to help support more people in our community. We have a $2 million goal for our Acceleration Fund, and we are hoping that by the end of 2021, we'll have raised that $2 million so we can get those dollars and those services out into the community as quickly as possible. Our new food delivery program is one way that we're doing that. We're also expanding our Meals on Wheels program in our St. Paul area. We're expanding more employment opportunities for young people. Those are all ways that the Acceleration Fund is helping us get new programs started or expanding existing programs quickly. The other thing that we're doing is we're planning for the future in terms of our food distribution. One of the things that was very challenging for us in 2020 was we had lots of partners, Hy-Vee being one of them, saying we would love to bring you 2 semi-trucks worth of food. Well, we don't have space for 2 semi-trucks worth of food anywhere at Keystone, not in any of our locations, nor at our food shelves. So one of the things we were planning to do, as I said, before the pandemic, was to find a new space where we could store and receive more food and also provide more food to our community. And a space became available on University Avenue at the very end of 2020. And with the help of our community and with our financing partners, we purchased that building on December 28th. And we are now moving into a major fundraising effort to raise the dollars we need from the community and also from the state of Minnesota to help us renovate and equip that site so that we can be ready to serve more people in 2022 as we continue to support people through this pandemic and further into 2023 and 2024. So we'll be sharing more about that on our website, and as we ramp up those fundraising efforts, we'll be sharing more with you and your community about how you can help. Right now, our energy is really focused on getting support from the state of Minnesota to help us renovate and equip that site. So one of the things that I'm asked all the time is how can we help? How can I as an individual, how can we as a faith community, how can we as a community help during this time? And I will tell you, we are so, so grateful for all of the help that we have gotten from our community. People have donated food, they've donated household items, they've gone out and done food drives for those single serve items that we've asked for. They've also donated cash, which helps us purchase food from Second Harvest and from the food group, particularly cultural foods that are really needed by the many communities that come to Keystone. So all the ways that you have helped have really made a difference. And we want you to continue doing that. You can do food drives. We also need bikes at our bike shop. We are pushing hard this year because we sold so many bikes last year that our inventory is quite low. So we need bikes. If you have a bike sitting in your garage you haven't used, donate it because a young person will work on it, refurbish it, and then the sales from that bike will go back into our youth employment program. The other way that you can help is we need cleaning supplies, we need laundry support, we need personal items. Those are the items, I always think of it as your Target run, that you spend $100 on and you didn't really mean to spend $100 on, but you got toothpaste and contact lens solution and diapers and soap and things like that. We always need those items, and I'll tell you, our participants really appreciate it when we have those available at our food shelf. Cash, as I said, helps us purchase food. So our cash donations, that's where we spend a big chunk of it is on food donation, on purchasing food. In a typical year, Keystone will purchase over $200,000 worth of food to bring to our food shelves. And we do that through our partners. And then in the last year, we've had to go out and source our food from places like Sam's Club and Costco. And then the last thing I would say is we want you to support Keystone, but another way you can support our community is by supporting local organizations that are specifically supporting people of color. Keystone, over 80% of the people that come to us are people of color, and we work really hard to be a great place where they can get support. But there are many small organizations that are targeted to specific people of color, and that's another great way that you can support your community and support those communities that are being affected the most by the pandemic. I just want to thank you for all that you have done to support Keystone and to support our community for many years, and also through 2020 when we were all very challenged to figure out how we could help, and also now into 2021. We truly, truly appreciate your support. I'm always available to answer any questions. Our website is a great place to get more information about all of our programs. Please, please tell your community to come to Keystone for support. We are there to help, and we are there to help in any way we can. And I just want to again say thank you to the Roseville Lutheran group for your help and support of Keystone.